I find it interesting when I go to a restaurant to observe the way the server approaches selling me a dessert. The most common approach is saying, "You didn't save any room for dessert, did you?" Obviously, this approach doesn't get a great result. It assumes the client ate a full meal and surely wouldn't make a fool out of themselves and order additional food, especially something fattening. In one restaurant, the server asked if I wanted dessert, and when I said no, she called me a quitter. Now, although this approach took me back immediately, I had to ask some questions about her success with that approach. It was so unique. She said that generally people laughed and then promptly ordered dessert. As a matter of fact, she sells more desserts than anyone else in the restaurant and now no longer has to work weekends in order to provide for her family. The best practice approach I ever saw was a process in which the server didn't even ask if you wanted dessert, just brought over a dessert tray illustrating all the wonderful choices they provide. They should also mention that the desserts on the tray are available for to-go orders so the customer can enjoy it later. I remember one time I was at a restaurant with 8 family members, and everyone said, of course, the server asked, "Does anyone save any room for dessert?" Everyone said no. And I asked if the server could bring over the dessert tray, which he did, and I'm telling you, man, this place had beautiful desserts laid out there, wonderful choices. And I did have a big meal. But I said, "Could I get one of these to go?" And the 8 no's at the table turned into all saying yes to having a dessert to go. So I paid for that. It did cost me. That's my research mission, exceeded my research and development budget right there. But everyone ordered desserts. And if you think about it, the big difference in that is involving the customer visually. It's the best approach because whenever you can get someone looking at something that good, your chances of selling it go way up. Now, if I were selling dessert, I'd start with a description that would literally make the clients consider it. Have you heard about our caramel volcano dessert? What they do with that is they take a vanilla cake and carve out the center and fill it with melted caramel made exclusively in our kitchen. They put the top of the cake back on and sprinkle powdered sugar over it before adding several scoops of vanilla bean ice cream on the side. It's simply amazing and is a wonderful treat to share together. Would you like me to bring one for you two to split? Now, if I was at a certain restaurant and I was taking that kind of an approach to dessert, would that approach be more successful in your mind than just stating, "You haven't left any room for dessert, have you?" Of course, I would present the dessert tray every time to anyone I served and be one of the best producers of dessert sales that the restaurant has ever seen. Now, I'll tell you that you could do that with a description on pie. Have you tried our fresh-baked cherry crumb pie? And go into a description of that. It could be that even the aroma of pie goes through the restaurant and is a wonderful way to bring up that conversation. That's going to sell dessert. But what happens when we come into the dealership? How is this relevant to what we go through every day? So often I go and I ask someone, or I observe someone in car dealerships, believe me, I do the same thing, right? But car dealerships might approach trying to sell a differential service or a transmission fluid exchange like this. Hey, you're at 60,000, you're due for a transmission service. What's the likelihood of them selling that? But we might go into a different approach in our dealerships too. How about this? Right now you have a sealed transmission. We can't see the condition or the level of the fluid. We can't check that. But at 60,000 miles, we consider it good maintenance. We've got a $5,000 fluid exchange machine. And first we put a chemical into the transmission, and that loosens up the dirt and debris. And we then remove that chemical with all of the old fluid and the dirt. We put in another chemical to keep the seals moist and the plates super lubricated. Now, when the seals get hot and cold all the time, they get brittle. But this keeps them soft and a better seal, longer life, super lubricant on the plate, and also we guarantee that if you do have a problem with that transmission in the next 30,000 miles, we're going to cover the first $2,000 of that repair. Would you like me to do that for you today while you're here? Which one of those would get a better result? And the fact is, we're no better than the restaurants. Most generally, we would approach that without even asking, without a description, without a feature benefit presentation. That would go on to say, the cost of the chemicals, the new fluids, the technicians, and the equipment is $249.50, or whatever your price is. What are we going to do to provide that information to the customer in such a professional format, such a consistent process, that it informs and educates them every time, every car? I don't believe we need to have any pressure selling desserts or maintenance on a vehicle. The task is to inform and educate the customer how to maximize their care for the vehicle investment they already made and keep their family safe. When you look at the distinct difference and you look at the different labor operations in the dealership, look at rotate and balance. How many of those do you do in your store? If you're not sure, look, check. How many rotate and balances do you do? Fact is, not many. I already know that. Because we don't ask. My personal viewpoint is that every 20,000 miles or so, the tire should be rotated to extend the life of the tire. And also, these tires are not cheap anymore. They're expensive. Many times when you rotate the tires and it's been over 20,000 before they've been balanced, the customer will be driving down the highway and bring the car back because it's now shaking at highway speed. Anyone that's been in a dealership environment for several years or more, they've had these customers come back. Hey, you screwed up my car. You rotated the tires. Now it's shaking when I go down the highway. They weren't even offered the balance. But now it's tough for them to understand it wasn't a mistake. You just need to balance those tires. Why wasn't I offered that before? So their expectation is you're going to provide a free fix because you broke it. Now let's turn that around. Let's say that they said, oh no, I'm not going to pay that $49.95 to balance and rotate. I just want that $20 rotate. And if they were explained that if you don't balance that tire, it might shake at highway speeds when you shift position on the tire, are they going to come back angry, or are they going to be disappointed in the choice that they made to decline the balance? You see, recommending items not only protects the dealership, it not only retains the customers better, it takes care of the customer's vehicle. It educates them on their choices. Yeah, it sells more customer pay. We all want that. But the ultimate reason for us to be in business at the car dealership and provide service is to care for the customer. We need to take the approach of this feature benefit selling. Desert anybody? Have a nice day, and I'll talk to you next week.
People will always follow the path of least resistance. And if you think about that, people following the path of least resistance. So what's a good manager? Someone that makes the path of least resistance compliance. And one of the things when we talk about effective labor rate and of service advisors, and believe me, I have done a lot of homework on this. It's one of the things I not only talk about often, it's a critical component of being profitable. So picture this happening at your store. I'm an advisor, and I quoted $50. So I'm doing my estimate, and the technician goes, I need 1.5. That was a rusty bolt. I need 1.5 for this. And you go, all right, whatever. I don't want to argue with you. So the path of least resistance then is to let that tech roll. So they're billing the RO out, and they go, oh man, that's way over my estimate. What's that advisor do? Well, the path of least resistance is just to cut the bill. I'll cut the price down. I'll keep the tech happy, but I'll go ahead, let's try $40 an hour. Oh man, I'm still $15 over. Let's try $30 an hour. Oh, now I'm 20 below my estimate. Print. Press the print button. You see, and the thing about that is that then no one's looking at that. Very few of us monitor that. I love some of the programs that are coming out right now where we can actually analyze with pushing a button who is compliant to the program. But are you looking at exceptions reports? Are we asking the advisors in your team what they've done? Same thing with the tech accountability. When we want to know we're standing firm on our pricing structure, we have to ask a few questions, don't we? Hey, what happened? Would you look at this RO with me? What happened on RO 18652? And you bring it up on a screen, and you go, we got 2.5 hours, and its effective rate of only $18. And if it was their cousin or them following the path of least resistance and making a tech happy, what happens with that? They go, I don't know how he found that. How did he find that RO? They've never asked me about anything like this. So in their brain, in the thing, that little thing between our ears, I guarantee you, again, I'm not a mind reader, but I can tell you they're thinking that. Well, I can't be discounting like that anymore, can I? He's looking. They're watching this thing. They're serious. They're looking at this.